Hi everybody, and welcome to our webinar. My apologies for the delay we've had getting started. As with all these things, technical issues have interfered with us slightly, but we're up and running now, and so we're going to be started very shortly. So first of all, everybody, welcome to our webinar. My name is James Cahill, and I'm the Managing Director of Costa Rica Invest. We specialize in investments in Costa Rica. Those investments can be just pure investments, but of course we deal in property purchases in Costa Rica as well. We're an international company. We've offices in Europe, Costa Rica, and representatives in the USA, Canada, Spain, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, and Ireland. Our webinar today is focused on the question, where in Costa Rica? And my intention today is to give you an overview. It's just an overview of the various areas in Costa Rica that you may consider purchasing property in. It's not intended to be a be-all and end-all and every bit of information about every area. It's an overview. But we will have an opportunity to have some questions at the end of the webinar. And I'm going to be joined today by Scott Ferguson. Scott is an owner and president of a number of real estate offices and companies on the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, and he'll be joining us specifically to talk about that area. Now, for those of you attending a webinar for the first time, myself and Scott will be doing the talking. But there will be an opportunity to have some questions at the end of the webinar. And if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a control panel there, and you can see an area in that control panel where you can enter questions. And my suggestion is that if anything comes to mind during the course of the webinar, something that perhaps I haven't covered clearly or a question comes to mind, just feel free to type it into that question area there. And we'll get to as many of those questions as we possibly can by the end of the webinar. Now, we do hold these webinars relatively regularly, and they're on a wide range of topics. And so if you go to our website, www.costaricainvest.ie, we advertise the webinars that we're going to hold on the front page of that website. So you can always keep up to speed on what webinars we've got coming up and what subjects that we're covering. So let's jump in and get started on the question at hand, which is where in Costa Rica? Now, I realize that most of you who are on this call probably know quite a bit about Costa Rica already, but just a very quick overview of Costa Rica. Where is it? Well, it's located in Central America. It's got a population of 4 million. It is the oldest democracy in Central and Southern America. It has more teachers than policemen, and they have no army. They actually abolished their army back in 1948, and the reason that they abolished their army back in 1948 was because they decided that they would never use their army against their people again, and the easiest way to ensure that could never happen was to abolish it. They don't have a minister for defense. They have a minister for peace, one of only 4 countries in the world to focus on peace rather than defense. And they spend approximately 25% of their national budget every year on education, and as a result have a very, very highly educated population. Because of the excellent climate, diet, and a very inclusive society and an easy pace of life, people live longer in Costa Rica than in most other countries of the world. Costa Rica has excellent healthcare, and medical tourism is a booming industry in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is in fact the wealthiest country in Central America, and that wealth is driven by tourism and also by a huge amount of multinational investment into Costa Rica. Many, many multinational companies have their Central and Southern American headquarters located in Costa Rica. And the reason that they're attracted to Costa Rica is it's a very attractive taxation environment, and of course it's got that very highly educated workforce that I mentioned earlier. Here are just some of the companies that have their Central and Southern American headquarters in Costa Rica. Now, Costa Rica is located at the junction of two major land masses, Southern and Northern America. And it has an incredible biodiversity, with up to or over, I should say, 5% of the world's biodiversity living in Costa Rica. And that's an incredible figure when you think about it. That's 1 in 20 of every living thing on this planet lives in a little country in Central America, and that country is Costa Rica. Costa Rica is very green and eco-friendly, and they aim to be carbon neutral as a nation by 2013, and they'll be the first country in the world to do so. They already produce more than 95% of their energy requirements from sustainable resources, wind, water and geothermal power. And with the opening of a new hydroelectric plant in the southern zone, they will in fact end up producing an excess of sustainable energy for their own requirements, and will export sustainable energy outside of Costa Rica. It's an interesting story how they ended up being so focused on producing energy from sustainable resources. About 20 years ago, the Costa Rican government had a look at what they were doing, and they discovered that there were two areas of government in constant conflict: the Ministry for Energy and the Ministry for the Environment. Because, of course, the Minister for Energy was looking for cheap energy, and that often came at a cost to the environment. And so what they decided to do was to merge the two ministries together. So the Minister for Energy and the Minister for the Environment became one and the same job. And that enabled them to take a very long-term view towards their energy requirements. And so they took a 50-year view, and they invested hugely in geothermal, wind and water energy. And as a result of that, they now produce more than 95% of their energy requirements for sustainable resources. At the time when they made that decision and started investing so heavily in sustainable energy, other countries thought they were mad, because, of course, these were very expensive technologies back then. But right now, of course, with oil so expensive, it looks like a very, very sensible long-term decision. Now, what we're going to talk about today is where in Costa Rica. And like I say, we're going to touch on some of the major areas of Costa Rica that you might consider purchasing property in. And we're going to talk a little bit about the positives and perhaps some of the negatives about each area as well, to try and give you a balanced view of each individual area. So the first area we're going to touch on is the Central Valley. Now, the Central Valley has traditionally been the favorite place for Costa Ricans themselves to live. And even today it contains an unequal distribution of the population of the country in relation to its size. So relatively speaking, most people live in the Central Valley. This is driven by the fertility of the land in the region, which is helped by the influence of the volcanoes and rivers that run through that valley, and also by the very, very pleasant and favorable weather in that area. Temperatures and humidity are lower, and weather conditions are really quite delightful. Indeed, the city of Atenas is noted as having the most ideal weather and living conditions for humans. They advertise that extensively, so when you drive into Atenas, you'll see all sorts of signs actually advertising that. San Jose is the capital, and it's got its large, modern international airport. Now, like any capital city, traffic congestion can be a problem. But on the outskirts of San Jose are a number of suburbs like Escazú, where it's been very popular for many expatriates to live. Moving away from San Jose, you move to towns like Atenas, and Atenas is the one that I mentioned previously that is very attractive for humans to live in. I guess the advantages ultimately for the Central Valley are climate. It's got a beautiful climate and easy access to the big city facilities, hospital facilities, medical facilities, entertainment generally, bars, restaurants. So those would be the great advantages. The disadvantage, I guess, is you're not close to the sea. It's actually quite a drive to the sea from San Jose. If you're driving to the Central Pacific has actually opened up quite a bit because they've opened a new highway, the Autoroute del Sol. And so now you can reach the Central Pacific in about an hour and a half from San Jose. The other disadvantage, I guess, of the Central Valley, and particularly San Jose, is it's perhaps not the lush tropical experience that many people are looking for. Next, we're going to touch on Guanacaste in the Nicoya Peninsula. Now, this is located above the Central Valley and extends out to the Nicoya Peninsula. Now, Guanacaste is serviced by its own airport, its own international airport, I should say, Liberia, and that has greatly improved access to this area of Costa Rica. Arenal, located in Guanacaste, has received extensive coverage in recent years, and there are very many very attractively priced properties in Arenal. It's got the beautiful Lake Arenal, hot springs, and of course its very own volcano. And the volcano, in fact, over the past 3 or 4 years, has become less and less active. That's not to say it's not going to become more active again in the future, but certainly 5 years ago the ground shook regularly, and now not so regularly. One thing to be aware of with Arenal is that there are limited facilities in the area, and it's relatively speaking a long way from anywhere. Of course, in due course, we expect more infrastructure to be put into this area, but it is this very lack of infrastructure that is reflected in the lower prices in Arenal. Looking outwards from Arenal and heading over to the coast of Guanacaste, you reach many of the very famous surfing and tourist destinations, places like Tamarindo. As you descend down the coast along the Nicoya Peninsula, you move down through more surfing areas and down to the hippie town, I guess, of Montezuma. And then as you reach down towards the end of the Nicoya Peninsula, which is actually really not part of Guanacaste, it's part of Punta Arenas, but we'll include it in the Nicoya Peninsula for this particular discussion, you reach the very large, beautiful beaches of Tambor. I guess the positives of Guanacaste are that, as we mentioned about Arenal, some areas are very attractively priced. You can certainly get away from it all in places like Arenal. There are excellent surfing beaches all down the Nicoya Peninsula. The downsides of Guanacaste and Arenal, in some areas of Guanacaste, the weather is very dry and windy, so it's a lot more arid than people expect of Costa Rica. And many people, when they're looking at Costa Rica, are expecting a lush tropical experience, and many parts of Guanacaste are not that. They're much drier and much more arid. Accessibility can be a major issue for places like Arenal and also in the Nicoya Peninsula. For example, to get to Tambor, that we're looking at here in the picture, you need to fly into perhaps San Jose, or you fly into Liberia, and then you need to take another flight. Alternately, you can drive, so you can take a flight to San Jose or to Liberia, and then drive all the way down the Nicoya Peninsula. It's a very long drive. It takes about 5 or 6 hours. Alternately, if you were to fly into San Jose, you could drive to Punta Arenas, get the ferry across to the Nicoya Peninsula, and then drive again. What I'm saying is that it can take quite a period of time to get across to these areas. Very, very pretty, but accessibility can be an issue. And then the contrary, of course, to Arenal is that some areas in Guanacaste are very expensive. Tamarindo, for instance, is a very expensive area of Costa Rica. So, again, there are upsides, but there are downsides to be aware of as well. Now, let's move on to the next area that we're going to touch on, and that's the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. Now, this area is much less developed than other areas of Costa Rica. Now, in recent years, the government of Costa Rica has committed to spending not millions, but hundreds of millions of dollars improving infrastructure and access to the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica. Now, the Caribbean coast is what it says on the tin. It's got a much more Caribbean influence than the Pacific coast. And again, prices in this area can be very attractive. Lots and lots of unspoiled beaches. And I guess those are the upsides. You can really get away from it all on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. There are not so many tourists, and property is very attractively priced. The downsides, we've pretty much already mentioned those. It has poor infrastructure. It's got poor accessibility. And one thing that we haven't mentioned is that it's actually much more humid, hotter, and wetter than the Pacific coast of Costa Rica. So, as in all the areas we've spoken about so far, there are some upsides, but there are some downsides as well. Now we're going to introduce Scott Ferguson. Scott is going to cover the central and southern Pacific zones of Costa Rica, and he's going to cover those in some detail. Scott, as I mentioned, is the president and owner of a number of real estate offices along the Pacific coast of Costa Rica and is very expert in this area. So let me bring Scott online now, and hopefully Scott is there. Scott, can you hear me?
I can hear you, James. Thanks for the invitation to join you today.
Perfect, great. Well, Scott, I'm going to hand over to you, and just tell me when to move the slides forward, and the floor is yours, Scott.
Okay, well, let's stick with this slide for just a second, James. My name is Scott Ferguson, as James has already mentioned. I am a real estate broker, agent, entrepreneur, developer, and I am quite a bit of history here in Costa Rica. I have been here full-time for the last 5 years, but I have owned businesses here for the last 9 years. I am also an expat retiree. I was a police officer in the great state of Florida for 25 years prior to retiring and coming down here, and now I am living what they call the Pura Vida life. And James, can you switch to the next slide, please? Okay. I am based in the Central Pacific Area Zone, and I am specifically in the town of Quepos, and Quepos and Manuel Antonio. This particular area of the country is the jewel of Costa Rica. There's a reason I'm here. We believe that not only is it the most beautiful area of Costa Rica, but it's also the most dynamic at this particular time. One of the better investments that one can make in Costa Rica. The slide that you're looking at right now is the jewel of the National Park System. That is a portion of Manuel Antonio National Park. That's the smallest park in Costa Rica, but the most visited. It has at this point in excess of 400,000 visitors per year. And that's right outside of the town of Quepos. James, could I get the next slide, please? Now, one of the features of this particular area is the development and the infrastructure here, which makes it an ideal place to consider for either investment or retirement purposes. What you're looking at on your screen right now is the brand new Marina Pez Vela. That's right here in Quepos. That's a 300-slip marina, and it's going to feature, it's currently constructed. They currently have phase 1 with the first 100 slips done. They're in the process of developing the largest yacht service facility south of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, right now. And they are starting their upland infrastructure as well. They'll have shopping, dining, and some residences there as well, condos. That's a huge project. It's brought a lot of money, a lot of prosperity, a lot of jobs for the locals. And it's a spectacular facility. We have the next slide, James. Okay. One of the major industries here, as you can imagine, with the amount of visitors that you get, would be the tourism infrastructure. This particular area, bear with me for a moment, we've got a technical issue. There we go. We specialize a lot in luxury rental homes. These are homes that people purchase as for return on investment. They will purchase the homes, rent them out on a weekly basis. We have a huge industry here. For instance, in the area where I am standing right now, we have in excess of 200 of those homes, but they're scattered up and down the coast from Jaco down to the southern zone. Have the next slide, please. Okay, we also specialize in rainforest properties. This area geographically is one of the most lush and biodiverse in the entire country here. In a country of biodiversity, James had mentioned that 5% of the world's total biodiversity is represented here in Costa Rica. Those species are all here. This particular area of the country is the most intensely biodiverse. We have the most of those species here. geographically, this is where the rainforest meets the sea. We have not only the verdant rainforest here, but we also have the Pacific Ocean, miles and miles of undiscovered and deserted coastline, and a lot of activities that go along with that. Can I get the next slide, James? One of the featured residences here that we represent among hundreds of ocean view homes. That's a small example. Can you get the next slide? Okay. It's not a great picture, but we also do a lot of work with farms, and these would be producing farms or hobby farms, and also big, large commercial properties. We handle those as well. This is a hub for recreational and social activities for people, not only for visitors, tourists here, but also for expats. It's estimated that the current expat population here in the Central Pacific is about 150,000 people. Now, they come from all over the world. Predominantly they're from the United States and Canada, but we also have Europeans here. Okay, a lot of activities going on here, zip lining, whitewater rafting. That's my favorite activity, is drinking the local beer. Can I get the next slide, please? Okay, amenities and services. We have a great deal of good transportation systems here. In this particular area, there are there are actually two international airports in the country, in Liberia and in San Jose. James has already mentioned those. We have a large commuter airport, that is Odeber Airport. That's also in San Jose. We have an airport here in Capos. They're getting ready to expand into a regional transportation hub. Currently handles 50,000 passengers a year. They're getting ready to turn it into one capable of handling 3 times that, and also with a general aviation capability. So should folks want to fly their Learjets in here, shortly they will be able to. Medical care. We have great hospitals in the area. James, can I get the next slide? Okay, that's Sansa Regional. It flies into the airport. That's a next picture. Next slide, please. Okay, roads. We have some great roads here in the area. A lot of them have been totally resurfaced at this point, and they're as good as anything that you'll find in the United States. Particularly, we're located along the Costa Rica Highway, which is also known as the Pan American Highway, runs from the north to the south of the country, comes in at Nicaragua, and leaves down in Panama. We are 2 hours and 15 minutes from San Jose Airport, and we are 2.5 hours from the Panamanian border. Most people here will go to Panama on a regular basis. They'll go for shopping. Some of them, if they haven't gotten residency here, will go every 90 days for a shopping trip or to visit Panama, and they'll come back and reset their passports for another 90 days. Healthcare. Some of the best healthcare in the Americas exists right here in Costa Rica. The picture that you see there is the SEMA Hospital in San Jose. That's a private hospital that's run out of a corporation out of Dallas. It is a top flight facility and has not only U.S. but also European accreditation. And that's just a sample of the hospitals here. Most of the medical system here is run by the Costa Rican Social Security system. Folks who are here as tourists or as residents can join that system. Okay? One of my favorite subjects here, cops and robbers. Okay? Crime. Costa Rica kind of gets a bad rap about crime. Crime statistics here are actually much lower than they are in the United States per capita. And that's across the board. That's not only for crimes of violence, but also crimes of opportunity, burglaries, and that type of thing. Statistically, the Central Pacific area has the lowest crime rate in the country right now. Next slide, please. Okay, let's talk a little about shopping. We have a couple of different types of shopping here. The slide that you see right there is a typical what they call a feria. That's a fruit market. You'll find those in most towns. They're usually here during the weekend. The question I usually ask clients is, when is the last time that you purchased enough fresh fruits and vegetables for $20 that you couldn't carry it all? That's a regular occurrence here. This is the only country in the world I've ever been to where it costs much less money to eat healthy than it does to not eat healthy. Can I have the next slide, James? We also have gringo shopping here. That's the Multiplaza Mall up in Escazú. Those malls are not throughout the country yet, thank goodness. But however, should you want to get your shopping on, most people take a trip into San Jose, and it's whatever you can find. Many people go every month, maybe take care of some business in San Jose with an attorney or that type of thing, and then come back to where they live after shopping. Okay, and in closing, just to let you know that this is probably the most laid-back country in the Americas. They do welcome us as North Americans. It's hard to find that sometimes today in the world. And many people have come here for a vacation and ended up staying here for the rest of their lives.
Great, and thank you for that, Scott. Have we covered everything there?
Yeah, pretty much.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Scott. And Scott is going to stay with us for the rest of the webinar. We just have a minute or two to go, but we do have an opportunity to take some questions at the end of the webinar, everybody. So if you have any questions about any area of Costa Rica, about living in Costa Rica, about property ownership in Costa Rica, about owning and buying a property, about selling a property in Costa Rica, anything at all, just type it into the question and answer box there, and we'll get to as many of those questions as we can at the end of the webinar. And I do see some questions are in already. You know, fundamentally, when it comes to property, the old saying is absolutely true, and that is, you know, it's all about location, location, location. Often clients are swayed by very low prices, but if you find an area that has very low prices, the question you have to ask yourself is, why are the prices so low? And the answer, unfortunately, is that if the prices are very low, the area ain't in much demand. It's simple. Now, there may be other factors that push that property price up over time, but that's a maybe. Some clients tell me, you know, they want to get away from it all and purchase properties in the middle of nowhere. And invariably, we've always found that they enjoy that experience for the first few months. But as they set into another 2 or 3 hour round trip to get groceries, the experience can start to tarnish a little bit. And of course, when they ultimately say, well, you know, this property hasn't worked out for me, we want to sell it again and get to an area with more facilities, guess what? The property ain't so easy to sell. Some clients tell me, you know, they don't care about the resale value of their property. But I've seen it time and time again that their circumstances can change, and if they need to sell the property, why not have a property that's sellable? So the decision to purchase is a big one. It needs time and it needs thought. And it's back to that old saying, location, location, location. And it's always the secret to a successful property purchase. To focus on that. And personally, I've always leaned towards good value properties in developed areas rather than very cheap properties in undeveloped areas. Now, we're available to assist you in finding that perfect property, and we're able to assist you further perhaps by offering you a very attractive fly-and-buy rebate program. Now, for all of the listings that all of Scott's offices have, Scott is making the offer of a fly-and-buy program that works as follows. That if you contract with Scott to travel to Costa Rica, you enter or put in place a buyer's representation agreement in advance of coming to Costa Rica. And when you come to Costa Rica, if you find a listing of Scott's, with Scott's assistance or with Scott and his team's assistant, that you decide is for you, and you go ahead and you purchase that property, they will offer a 1% rebate up to the value of $2,000, and that's available until the end of November. We did have a similar offer running that expired at the end of August, and this offer is now only available to those people who have attended this webinar, and it is open to them up to the end of November. The Nature Walk series of developments, which we haven't covered in this particular webinar, but which we handle exclusively, offers a fly-and-buy program that's worth $2,000 on any property investment or purchase over $50,000. And the Nature Walk properties also have a very good and very attractive offer available at the moment, which is that if you purchase over $250,000 worth of property from a Nature Walk development, they will process and handle entirely, included in that price, an investor residency application for a family of up to 4 people. So a number of very attractive offers open to us there. So the question as to how to avail of those, well, very simple. Just contact us. Send us an email, info@costaricainvest.ie, or email me, james@costaricainvest.ie, or email Scott, Scott at coldwellbankerinCostaRica.com, or give us a call, and we'll be delighted to talk to you, to consult with you, to assist you, and hopefully to help you to avail of one of those fantastic fly-and-buy offers. So let's make Scott live on the call again, and let's look and see what questions we have in. I did see some questions coming in. Feel free to ask as many questions as you wish, everybody. Let me just open up the question box here and see what we have. Okay, now there are a number. Let me scroll up here. Okay, the first question that we have in is where are these hobby farms? Scott, you had mentioned hobby farms in your offer there. Do you want to take that and talk a little bit about some of the hobby farms, and then perhaps I will mention a little bit about Nature Walk?
Well, there are hobby farms, or what could be termed to be hobby or small family farms throughout the country here. Costa Rica is a very agrarian society. They grow a lot of food that is consumed here. So many of these properties have been, at one point or another, have been fruit farms, small cattle farms, vegetable farms. In some cases, we also have investment farms in such things as palm oil or teak. And that, as James can explain to you about Nature Walk, that there are some opportunities to become a gentleman farmer right there in Nature Walk. But these are generally located throughout the country. Costa Rica is constructed so that it's not quite like the United States. There's not a big suburbs outside of the towns. Usually you're talking about farms, and we have numerous properties listed that fit the category of these farms. They're either close by the ocean, they're up in the hills, they're in some of the Central Valley areas, and some of the southern zones. We have specific farms of that nature.
Great. Thank you for that, Scott. And that does provide a good opportunity to mention Nature Walk, because Nature Walk is a master plan development running to almost 1,200 acres. And the very nice thing about Nature Walk is that you can have a home in Nature Walk in a very beautiful area. It's on the Central Pacific, not quite on the coast. It's in the hills, but each of the lots is large, typically 1.25 acres and upwards. And not only can you have a home on that lot, but they have high-value agricultural crops growing on those lots, a whole range of different crops. They have jatropha, they have makuuba, they have nampi, they have teak, and they have vanilla and pineapple. And all of those crops provide different types of income profile returns, but all of those crops are fully managed. And so basically, you have the advantage of valuable crops growing on your land that are fully managed, and you get the returns from those. So a very nice and interesting opportunity. To find out more about Nature Walk, again, just give me a call, drop me an email. Be delighted to tell you more about that in more detail. Okay, let's move on to our next question. I'll just read it out. Scott, I think if you could handle this, I'll just read out the question. It's what is the humidity level in Guanacaste, and what's it like in Quepos and the areas in the mountains near Quepos? And Belen, is humidity always low in the Central Valley, and at what altitude in the Central Valley? Okay, so basically just really asking about humidity effectively throughout Costa Rica. Scott, could you give a view on that as a well-traveled Costa Rican resident?
Well, I'm originally from the great state of Florida. That's the humidity capital of the entire world as far as I'm concerned. As a matter of fact, I was just there the month before last, and I brought my wife. She is Costa Rican, and we were in Central Florida, and she said, "My God, it's hot here. It's 10 times as hot here than it is in Costa Rica." And I got to thinking that yes, it is. But to answer the question about humidity, humidity levels can vary. This is a moist country. We are, we've got the rainforest here, so we do have precipitation. We have the rainy season. As a matter of fact, we're in a rainy season right now. As a matter of fact, it's raining right outside my office now. We expect this. The rainforest needs it. No rain, no rainforest. Humidity here, it's not as bad as people would think. In the summertime down here by the coast, yes, it gets hot, it gets humid. We're 9 degrees above the equator. Guanacaste, it gets hot, it gets humid, but it's a drier environment. As a matter of fact, there are parts of Guanacaste you can't tell the difference between that and West Texas. Now in the Central Valley, yeah, you're going to get some humidity. It's generally going to be a little more moderate than it is over at the coast, but you will still get humidity. That's part of the environment here. A lot of the species of animals and plants need the humidity in order to be able to live.
Great. Thank you for that, Scott. The next question we have is why did you not discuss the hotspots in the southern zone? Thank you for that question, and it's a good point. We just picked a number of areas that we get asked most about. The webinar was not intended to be sort of the be-all and end-all of the southern zone describing every area of Costa Rica. But you're absolutely right to bring up the southern zone, and the southern zone is a very interesting area of Costa Rica, very beautiful. And quite undeveloped. It's an area of Costa Rica that hasn't seen the same amount of investment either in tourist terms or in government investment than other areas of Costa Rica, and perhaps more specifically the Central Pacific has seen. Access can be an issue to areas of the southern zone, but there is a plan to have a new airport, and there's talk about it being an international airport, which will make quite a difference to that area. We do know from previous experience what opening an international airport will do for an area. For instance, in Liberia, which previously was pretty inaccessible, the opening of the Liberia International Airport has had a dramatic effect on prices in that area and accessibility into that area. I suspect that the same thing will happen in the southern zone. But the establishment of that airport in the southern zone has been talked about for many years, and it still hasn't happened. But the southern zone is a very beautiful area of Costa Rica, but I guess the and very attractively priced. And there is no doubt that with further investment in the area, the southern zone will prove more attractive in the future. But right now, for me, accessibility is an issue and infrastructure are an issue. Okay, the next question is, would you please inform us more details about residence and tax rules? Scott, you and I were talking a little earlier actually about residency and citizenship and issues like that. Could I ask you to address that?
Okay. Well, let's define those terms. Residency versus citizenship. Many people get those confused. Residency gives either temporary or permanent, gives you the right to live here in Costa Rica outside of being a tourist as a resident. And nationality will give you the ability to become a Costa Rican citizen. Those are both available to people from other countries, not only from the United States or North America, but also from Europe throughout the world. So residency versus nationality. Residency, there are basically 5 categories for residency. You can become what they call a pensionado if you have a pension. You can be a rentista, and that's a person who basically has access to money sufficient to prove to the Costa Rican government that they can remain here 5 years. You need a certain amount of money for that. You can become an inversionista, and James is actually quite expert on this, but just in a nutshell, that is the investment of at least $200,000 in some type of investment here. It could be a home, property, a business, and there are a couple of other. You can become married to a Costa Rican national, or you can have a child here. So those are the 5 most common ways that people become residents here. And let me add to that. There's a question here about what do you do with the United States residency? Should you become a Costa Rican resident? You can have both the residencies, or not both the residencies, both the nationalities. So you get your Costa Rican passport and your U.S. passport. And I think there was a part of this, there was a tax question as well.
Yes, it said just about residence and tax rules. So quite a broad question there. And I guess, in terms of tax rules, that's a very broad area. But if I could just sort of very broadly say that Costa Rica is a very attractive taxation environment, both for businesses and personally. And with careful structuring, you can achieve, or most people can achieve, a low or perhaps even no taxation status, but certainly very, very low. Now, the specifics of individual tax rules, that's probably a whole new webinar and a whole new series of questions. But, if I can just broadly answer it at that, to say that it is a very low taxation environment, both for companies and for individuals, and with some thought and some structure, you can certainly achieve a very, very low taxation status and perhaps a no taxation status. Okay. So we'll move on to the next question is, where does Costa Rica fall regarding social issues compared to other countries in the Americas? Scott, what's your view on that?
Well, Costa Rica is a, I'm sorry, I'm getting some echo here. It's kind of messing with me a little bit.
Sure.
Costa Rica is a very peaceful country. Some of the problems that we seem to be focused on now, I'm from the U.S., I'm not sure how many participants in the webinar here today are actually specifically U.S. citizens. But in the minds of many people, both here and in the United States, there are a lot of problems that we focus on in the United States that take away from our experience of being Americans at this particular point. For instance, you hear about racial divide and divisiveness in the states here. Largely, that does not exist here in Costa Rica. That strife, that rhetoric that we hear doesn't appear here. Costa Ricans are very accepting people. Socially, it's important. Socially, it's important to Costa Ricans that the population is educated, that they have good health care here. Things that are important to us throughout the world are important here. This is one of the most socially connected countries. It's almost like wherever you go, it's almost a small town atmosphere. Even if you go in, even if you go into San Jose, there's no problem walking up to somebody and striking up a conversation with them. When's the last time you could do that in a big city in the U.S.? Everybody's connected here. Family values are very, very, very big here.
Great. Well, I think that gives certainly a good overview. The next question also relates to social issues. What are the laws regarding the use of marijuana and regarding gay marriage? I know that gay marriage has actually received extensive coverage in the newspapers over the last couple of weeks. A hot topic. Scott, did you want to give an opinion on those two issues?
Well, I'm not really awfully familiar with the issue here in Costa Rica because, frankly, I haven't heard a whole lot about it.
Mm.
I would expect that this is a very tolerant society, but I'm not really, I can't really speak to that issue right now, whether or not that's accepted officially at this particular point. I think it's still very much in the debate situation. As far as the use of what we would consider to be illicit narcotics, they're fairly tolerant about it here. Casual use of marijuana is not even a crime here. So, factually, that's for whatever reasons, that's the way it is.
Okay. Next question we have is, could you make this presentation available to listen after this is over? Yes, absolutely. We are recording this presentation, and I will send a link out to everybody who attended. That you can certainly feel free to share with friends, family, colleagues, and if you found it useful and had some value out of it, we'd be very pleased for you to share the webinar recording with whoever you would like to share it with. We're very pleased to do that. So we will load it up onto YouTube, and we will share that with everybody in due course. The next question we have is, if a person were to buy land, can you build a home on it? And if so, do you have access to quality builders? Well, let me just cover briefly about Nature Walk specifically. Nature Walk, as I mentioned, is a fully master planned community. You can certainly have a home in Nature Walk. Each lot is a development lot on which you can have a home. And we're very pleased in Nature Walk and with the Nature Walk development that they have paired up with Lindell Homes from Canada. Lindell Homes is a long-established home building company, timber home building company, that has an excellent reputation and offers a lifetime structural guarantee on the homes that it builds. And there are a large range of Lindell home designs available throughout Nature Walk, and each of them comes with this lifetime structural guarantee and, of course, the backing and security of knowing that you've got one of the top timber home builders in the Americas building for you in Nature Walk. Those Lindell homes are also available outside of Nature Walk through, and again, we'd be very pleased to put you in contact with Lindell Homes to discuss that. In terms of local builders, Scott, for local builders, could you fill people in on that and building homes outside of the Lindell homes that we were talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. In the last 5 years or so, it has gotten much easier to build a home, all the way from a modest retirement home on up to a multi-million-dollar mansion here. And the reason is infrastructure has gotten better. Materials are easy to move to the sites from import points. And we have many more builders who have come into the area here who are themselves expatriates, and they come here to establish new businesses as home builders. Many of these folks are very successful in the United States, and they're just they've changed the area they're operating. A lot of them have come here. There's one very good builder here who's come here from the northern United States because he wanted to escape the winter. So he's building some of the better homes in the area now. But it's very easy to do it. Much more so than people would think.
Great. Thank you for that, Scott. The next question we have in is, and Scott, perhaps you might address this, is it easy to find a concrete home builder? Is it also easy to find a concrete home builder? Scott?
Yes. A lot of homes here, that is a traditional way of building for many, many years, even though they utilize modern materials in many homes that are being built here now. A lot of them are built structurally out of concrete and steel. There are many artisans here, not only in concrete, but also stone mason. Brick is very popular here. Brick pavers are very popular here as well. They're very, not only are they adapted to the environment here, but they're very eco-friendly. Another big advantage of building here is there's a good advantage for folks that put green features in your house, solar systems, water collection systems, just all sorts of different systems to make the home much more efficient and environmentally friendly.
Great. Thank you for that, Scott. Okay, everybody, we're reaching the hour time limit that we had set for this particular webinar. I am conscious that we have other questions unanswered that we haven't got to yet, but rest assured, any of those unanswered questions, we will get back to everybody individually and answer those questions in detail. So my apologies if we didn't get to your particular question in this particular webinar. As mentioned, and I think, I hope that the message that has come out of this webinar is location, location, location. It is the secret to getting the ideal property for you. Put a lot of thought into the location of your property. And as I mentioned, we have these fly-and-buy offers that are open to all of the listings through Scott and his colleagues' offices and through Nature Walk. If you're interested in any of these fly-and-buy programs, just drop us an email and we're all available to assist you finding your perfect property in Costa Rica. So thank you very much for attending, everybody, and thank you very much, Scott, for your super valuable input during the course of the webinar. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, James.
And have a great day.